Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of the Simpsons Index with returning champion Murph from Murph's Tavern. And just jumping in before the podcast today to remind you to go check out Starring Springfield, our podcast where we're reviewing the movies that star the cast of The Simpsons. Links to that are in the show notes, along with links to listen to Murph's Tavern. Go check that out too. There's so much podcast goodness to check out. But first check out this podcast. It's the Simpsons Index. You're listening to it. Let's get to the podcast. The Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast. Coming to you from SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 294. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, joined, here as always, except when he's not, by BT Calloway.
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed and also mad.
Don't give away the rankings too early, Beach, especially before I have even introduced our guest. Once again, returning champion from beautiful Melbourne, it is Murph from Murph's Tavern, Murph McLachlan. Murph McLachlan. Sorry. Already stumbling out of the gate.
Chumbobalin.
I'm just so excited to have you on.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Thanks for having me, guys.
Great to have you back, man. And yeah, of course, this is a Simpsons Index. We review Simpsons. And much like you guys are doing over there at Murph's Tavern and working your way through the tome and checking out the classic episodes.
Yeah. We've, I think the last year or so, maybe last time I was on the show, we'd ventured into season 9. But that's as far as we get on Murph's Tavern.
Smart.
Yeah. I'm pretty infamous for my harsh take on the newer seasons. I'm not even a season 10 guy. That's how much of a let alone season 88 or whatever they're on now.
Yeah, and that's the other big thing that's happened since we've last recorded anyway. They just announced that Simpsons are renewed until season 40, so woo!
Yeah, it went from being a joke to being a threat. You'll never stop The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
God, that was in season 13 as well.
Wow.
Look, all I can say is good luck to Harry Shearer and Julie Kavner.
I know. Especially, Shearer's burns in this.
Yeah. Pretty brutal.
We'll get there.
Well, I don't know if you've talked about this on your pod, but I actually chatted about this on a recent app. On one of those new Disney Plus exclusive episodes they did, they had like a flashback to young Mr. Burns. They actually got Joseph Gordon-Levitt in to voice young Mr. Burns. So they're at that point now. Yeah, it wasn't too bad, actually. Yeah.
Was that the Past and the Furious or something?
Yeah. I got about 10 minutes into that, and then I was like, nope. I gave it a go.
Maybe this is how they're going to do it. They're going to have more and more flashback episodes replacing the voice cast until eventually that's the new voice cast.
Yeah. Well, they've already been doing little shortcuts, right? Like there was that one a few years back where Marge had to sing.
Yeah,
and they made it that it was like
Kristen Bell.
Yeah, which didn't quite make sense. Like, it's a funny joke, but it didn't really tie it into the episode from memory.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been a good joke if, like, that's how she sounds in her own head, but they never made that, if I remember correctly. I think that was a big complaint of ours.
Making a wild concept for an episode where they don't quite land it because the whole thing's muddy and unclear? What are you talking about? 4 more years. Anyway, well, I guess the answer to the recurring question for our returning champions might be a bit obvious then, but have you been keeping up with new seasons or Disney Plus exclusive specials or any newer Simpsons content?
Yeah, out of morbid curiosity, I do tend to check it out actually more than I did before doing Murph's Tavern because doing a Simpsons podcast, even though it is the first
you gotta dip your toes in every now and then.
Yeah, and I always get recommended stuff pop up, and so I'm always seeing like the plot outlines for the new seasons. And I think from following you guys as well, sometimes I'll see an episode you've reviewed, and I'm like, I gotta check that out.
there are ones from this very season I think we gave pretty high ratings. I think Lisa's Belly is in this one.
Okay.
I think that was previous season. Now this one has the mid-childhood night's dream. It's not a good title. It's hard to say. But
it is, but it was an interesting episode.
Yeah, no, I actually didn't mind that one. I watched that because I think I'd heard good things anyway, and then I saw you two and your guest, I think it was a B?
Yeah, Be Bubba Scarlet.
Yeah. You gave it, quite a good review. I was like, all right, I'll suss it out. And yeah, I didn't mind it. But there's a few that I don't mind from the newer seasons. One, actually, I didn't mind. Like, I didn't like it, but for a new episode, I thought, that was a bit of fun. And you guys actually failed it. It was the one with the brain in the jar.
Yeah. That's right.
Bart gets the brain in the jar.
Yeah, Bart's brain. He gets the brain in the jar, and that's his pen.
It's literally just called Bart's brain.
Massive structural problems.
Yeah. I think that there are a few parts of it where I had a few chuckles, but
fair.
I mean, I listened to your pod. All your points were valid, but
I think that's the kind of polarizing thing with New Simpsons is that it can be so like off the walls and bonkers and crazy, but like if you're on board with it, maybe like you could have a good time. But I think it's like just going to be tastes are going to vary so hard because they're using a lot of strong flavors in these newer eras.
Yeah.
Good
Even the one we recently did, which was Lisa the Boy Scout with the hacktivists, and it's like a modern take on 22 short films or something. There was one comment on the socials that really fucking got to me, and I keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
Someone just commented, on our Blue Sky, by the way, follow us there. We like that better than fucking all the other places. Anyway, he said, do you ever look at screen grabs from recent Simpsons seasons you haven't watched and feel terrified? Like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
Just like, presented without context, even Bart skating around with a brain in the jar is going to be...
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I've watched that Boy Scout one too, actually, because that was like the big... I think you said this on your pod. This was like the big example people were giving when they were like, The Simpsons is back. And I think you guys were fairly kind to it. I did not like it.
We have lots of criticism, and I gave it an overall pretty decent rank, but it's one of those, your mileage is going to vary massively. And
you guys are watching all of the new ones, so you guys are seeing pure crap.
Every now and then I forget what a classic is. I keep meaning to go back and scope some original. Look, it's a hard thing because there are plenty of people that say, like, of course it's not as good as it originally was. It's a completely different show now. But there's also the sense of, then why keep making it?
Yeah.
Why didn't they not make another show? Well, let's hook into this one. And I don't watch a lot of these episodes prior to doing them on the podcast anymore. It's sort of, again, typical to keep up and keep my sanity and whatever. So, I don't get to screen these ones, but... Yeah, I even apologized to you, Murph, when we were leading up to this. Like, I'm so sorry we didn't know you in the era where we were covering good shit, because, like, you're doing classics on your show, that's fair enough, but, like, even just being able to, like, show you the odd good teens episode, like... I'm sad you're only here for the Drek, and, anyway, I think I'm playing my hand too soon now.
Like I've said to you, I love getting my rant on, so I like picking shit apart and stuff, so I'm happy to be on with these awful episodes. No skin off my back.
Well, thank you. And but even then, still, apologies. But anyway, we just watched Season 35, Episode 7, It's a Blunderful Life. First released in November of 2023, it was directed by Matthew Nastuck, written by Elizabeth Kiernan Averick. In this episode, it's 60 years in the future, and the Simpsons family are gathered for Thanksgiving, and Lisa regales the entire family with the story of the Great Springfield Blackout, which was blamed on Homer. And the town are so mad at them that they moved the Simpsons house up to the top of a mountain. But then they quickly found out it was actually Mr. Burns, and then as soon as it went up, they moved the house back. Hey, guys, what do we think?
So even listening to your recap...
I had to mentally check myself. That's what happened, right?
Yeah.
That happened.
I was fine with it for a while, and then at a certain point, it just started to turn, and
That's pretty generous, BT. Look, I've been on this show 3 times, I think. I've given 2 failures and 1 participant, and I gotta stress, I go into these wanting to like them. I go in with an open mind.
Look, that's kind of the reason I brought up a previous episode from this season we did rate quite well, because sometimes you do wonder, am I just being harsh because this is new and I hate change? it's hard to try after a while to be objective about these things, but yeah, we genuinely do, I swear.
Yeah. No, I think this may be one of the worst Simpsons episodes I've ever watched.
Oh, my friend, you've not seen enough. Or you've seen enough, I guess. Stop now.
Yeah.
It gets worse, but...
This is, you were right with your intro there, Beach, because this was a disappointing episode. Because
yeah, there are ideas I like here.
Yeah.
Not done well.
No, I think the basic premise of big blackout that's not actually Homer's fault, that's actually Burns' fault, that's just a great, just fucking foundational level fucking thing that you can build on.
We know Springfield is quick to judge and quick to anger. It's so often Homer's fault that it makes sense. They'd be like, of course. We told him to go throw out the garbage. He somehow fucked it up. Yeah, fine. And even Marge being like, I've forgiven you and trusted you so many times, and this time I just don't know if I have it in me anymore. Also an interesting point to make. Like, there's so many Simpsons episodes that Homer does something stupid, Marge gets angry at him, they figure out they still love each other, things move on. This had the interesting angle of being like just exhaustion, of just being, he's not even done anything wrong, but that's not the point. It's just, look, yet again, here we are, and the different approach you can take with that. So yeah, there are elements I think are good.
However,
execution, just at a certain point, I started yelling at the TV.
Yeah. I found that it was sort of a mishmash of all different plots they've done. Like you said, I agree, it's not a bad premise, the whole Burns having done something bad and Homer taking their own blood. Even Homer, granted it was 30-something years ago, Homer Bad Man, where he grabs the gummy.
Gummy Venus Smiler.
Essentially the same sort of premise, and that Homer actually is innocent, but everyone in the town, he's. But also Miracle on Evergreen Terrace, where the family are pariahs. That's similar. The one where they kick the family out of the town. That's pretty similar. Mm-hmm. Oh, even like the Simpsons movie.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, you're mishmashing all these plots, which is fine. It's season 35. Like, I get you got to borrow or redo stuff. But it was like they just put all these plots in a blender and it was a disgusting smoothie.
Yeah. Oh, it really was. There was just no focus, no central theme that was coming back. And like, a lot of it just felt pointless. Like, to a certain... And especially getting to the end of this thing and going... What is even in this show? What the fuck did I just watch?
Like, I was going to say the framing device especially was like, great-grandma Lisa, why do we light a candle every year? It's like, to remember this one blackout where I spoke in a southern accent and kept a diary for some reason. I was just like, all right, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it needed that framing device.
Not in the slightest.
No, because it added nothing to anything.
All right, let's hook into the questionnaire, Murph. We'll start with you. What's a moment from this one that stands out to you for better or worse?
I think the moment where... So, by the way, a tradition is when I watch these episodes for your pod is I watch it with my wife, and she doesn't watch any new Simpsons at all.
Yeah.
So these are the only new ones she sees, and every time she just looks at me the whole time. It's like, what is this? And... the moment we just both looked at each other and I was like, I got no idea what's going on, is when Burns just started singing and there was that musical sequence.
Yeah, brutal, which again, like...
Brutal stuff.
It feels weird to harp on an episode structure, but we were just talking about how you don't need the framing device of this being Lisa's story. And it feels very, old man yells at cloud to say Lisa's not there for this scene. Why is there a musical number from Burns in Lisa's story where she's not there? And it's not something I want to get too hung up on, but it did, anyway.
And maybe they should have got, what's her name? Kirsten Bell in?
Kirsten
Bell for Mr. Burns, because
Good grief.
So I didn't know what was going on. I was like, this does not sound good. I don't know what the point of this is, what point they're trying to make, what's happening here.
Yeah, and with Harry Shearer with his modern Burns, man, it's not even like one of these things like Julie Kavner. It's like, Marge is sounding a bit old now. It's like, Harry Shearer doesn't even sound like he's trying. Like,
Well, Burns
Yeah,
especially. Like, I think we've said it before, it's weird to think Mr. Burns sounds too old now. But it's
Yeah.
Mr. Burns' voice just is so tired when he tries doing it. I don't know if he just can't anymore, but it is so painfully noticeable.
Yeah, and going back to Marge, I mean, you guys must get sick of talking about this, but it really is painful to hear Julie Kavanagh. And I think particularly like when she is really upset at Homer, it actually just is really sad.
Yeah.
Because it's just her raspiness combined with, I guess,
Just the age.
those scenes where she was just like saying how she can't trust him and stuff. I was just like, this is just bumming me out.
Man,
yeah.
there's a part where they're like, "Oh, Marge, your mother's outside." I'm like, "Do not make Julie Kavanagh do Grandma Bouvier's voice. I think her throat will leave." Look, for those of you wondering out there, I have checked to see. Apparently, this is just what Julie sounds like now. It's not physically painful for her, even though it sounds like it would be. I would very much be comforted if they would start an episode by having Julie Kavanagh be like, "Hi out there, I'm fine. Trust me, this is just my natural voice now. There's a nodule on her vocal cords. There always has been. She's okay."
Yeah.
I am reading this statement of my own free will. But like, because even sometimes we've done this podcast and our guests will go, "Whoa, Julie Kavanagh's sounding a bit rough," and I'm like, oh my God, it didn't even occur to me.
Yeah,
I
we're
am
used
so
to it.
used to New Simpsons now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. In like those moments where she has to be extra emotional, or at the end when she's like corralling everybody for Thanksgiving dinner, it's like, oof. Yeah. It's almost like I'm glad that I still noticed now. And this one.
Yeah.
But like with Harry Shearer, like it just doesn't feel like he's putting in any effort to do anything close to the Mr. Burns voice. Like,
Yeah.
because especially Harry Shearer, you know, he's got quite a deep voice and he does like all those big bassy characters like Kent Brockman or whatever. But Mr. Burns is always sort of sat really high up in, you know,
And-
really high up in the
Yeah,
palette. But
he's always had like a playful jovialness, even when he's being evil. That's just lacking.
yeah, and the song fucking sucked. It was
Yeah.
really bad.
Look, if I can piggyback something that stood out to me for better or worse, real
Absolutely.
quickly. If you take nothing else from this episode, take away the idea of the importance of unions, especially in the labor force and especially in the States. Right now, there's a whole push right now trying to get a whole lot more manufacturing jobs in the States using certain controversial tactics. And you know why people think those are good jobs? Because back in the day when they were a big part of the American economy, they were union jobs, which they are definitely not pushing now. Unionize. It is important.
There we go. Union
And
watch
punish
busy.
union busters to the extreme extent.
But even like when they are doing satire about unions and stuff, it just makes me think, remember the strike episode? Like when they do try and like even there's a bit in here where there's at the very end when Burns randomly gets arrested, which what the hell?
My very large down arrow is on that scene. So
It cuts to Mayor Quimby giving him, he's saying like, "This is the worst thing we can do for a billionaire. Give them a fine they can easily pay." And Burns is like, "There you go. I made that again in the time it took me to say go." And I was like, this was done so much better in the monorail episode where they like wheeled him in and then he like, "Smithers in my front pocket. Anyway, I'll also take that statue." And then he's
Sold.
like, so yeah, like that is a perfect bit. They managed to cram in like 5 gags in like 10 seconds and they make the same point. Compared to this, it's like, oh my God. Like, so I think
it's not just stating the obvious, which is what this, like, that's the joke here. It's just like, this is the thing where, as you described the monorail bit, there's an actual joke there and there's a level separate for it. Like, it's not just spelling it out for you.
Exactly.
But and like in terms of the union thing, so like Mr. Burns is getting some non-union workers into the power plant to just cost-cutting measure, whatever. But this episode sets up this whole thing and then has Homer be the scapegoat for the giant blackout. But then it's not like this mystery where like it's like Mr. Burns at the core of it. It's just like the town
Yeah.
abusing Homer. And so when it gets to the point where it's like, oh, and I know who caused it, we got like 2 minutes to wrap up the episode, and they go, let's move the Simpsons house up the mountain. Oh, by the way, it was Mr. Burns. Okay, house go back down the mountain. Okay,
Yeah.
we're done.
Well, not only that, they just go, oh, well, obviously it was the town villain, Mr. Burns. It's like, okay, but like, you don't know that. And
Yeah. There was no unfolding of a mystery. There were
Yeah.
no clues, and like,
But also,
there
like,
wasn't
everyone-
a journey.
everyone blaming Homer because he's the town idiot and obviously he's the one that made the mistake is the same as blaming the town villain because even when you don't have any proof, it's
Yeah.
the same outcome. And they just go, oh, it was Mr. Burns, smash cut there at Burns's place. Like, how? When? How did you get past the guards? You know, so the
Yeah.
gates and the dogs and the very
It's
famously
so
difficult to
dumb.
get into mansion.
You just had me think, because what I love about doing these terrible episodes is thinking of fixes. That could be a decent plot of like something bad happens in the town and everyone blames Mr. Burns, but it's
Yeah.
not actually him.
Yeah.
That's a dynamic. We can work with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but even with like, okay, so they've taken like so many steps to get to, oh, Springfield is under, a town-wide blackout during Thanksgiving. It's like, okay, that's an interesting hook. Didn't like any of this. Like, and I just don't think they lent into the potential of that storyline either. Like,
No, like a lot of the jokes were just could have been in any episode really. Like, Bart
yes.
is like, oh, only 1% on my phone. And then comic book guy walks past and does like a Twitter joke that could have been written 20 years ago. And like, I'm like, that's not really specific to the situation they're in.
No.
Like, I mean, I get,
Yeah.
power being out, but like you said, power being out during Thanksgiving, like that's a
Yeah,
good,
surely there's
you
more
know,
to that.
have it happen even during the Thanksgiving. I don't know, where the family's already around or something. I don't know. Like, it didn't, so very little of the episode seems specific to it being Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. They have all these like, it's like what you're saying about so much stuff being crammed into a blender and we get this, weird smoothie at the end of it. Like, there's so many elements here, but it's like they really needed to trim down and just like get it down to the couple that were working because, we get introduced to all these ideas and plot points, but like, it's kind of like a bed of nails. Like, none of them are sticking. Like, they're all holding up the balloon and it's empty. Anyway, my metaphor is getting away from me.
At least a bed of nails is connected by one board.
Yeah.
This isn't even that.
No.
There's nails occasionally attached to other nails.
But was it a wacky episode of The Simpsons?
Oh
what
my,
were
yes.
some of the cartoony moments that stood out to y'all?
Look, one I kind of got a chuckle out of was, Marge closes the windows because it's cold and the air is blowing in, and then there's no glass in the windows. She's like, oh.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, look, it was fine that the cooling towers had Hawaiian costumes on during the... Yeah, that's fine.
Didn't mind that. Just a bit of a visual gag, but again, why did this have to be Hawaii Day to distract the employees?
Yeah, Lisa just has a book that has, like, a character float out of it and talk to her about how bad the book is.
Oh, that was one of my things. I was like, couldn't she have read what the person's saying?
Yeah, been like,
Yeah.
this is going to help me escape from my troubling times. And then reading about someone who has it worse would be like, that's not really helping. But now I'm talking in a southern accent.
Oh, yeah, far out.
Again, just adding to the confusion of this episode because that feels like it's introducing yet another framing device.
Yeah, because she says, that's why when I started journaling, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like they wanted the book to be narrated very like Dust Bowl era diary, Wrath of Grapes style or something like that. And they just forgot about it until then. Like, we were going to do that, weren't we?
Yeah.
Like if she had referenced those diaries in the future jump, which is like, when they've all got iPads, she's like, I wrote it down. Maybe they did, to be entirely fair. I don't remember, but I don't think so.
Yeah, and then it's like later when Homer reveals that he buried the food in the snow and he says, I got it from Lisa's book. And then in the credits, it shows him reading that book to Lisa. I'm like, was that a deleted scene?
Yeah, did this
But,
fit in
like-
the middle of everything?
Yeah. But even that, like when Marge says to Homer, what did she say? It was like, you weren't telling a lie about eating all the food from the fridge. He has a photo of him
Yeah, he
burying
just
it
has a
outside
photo
for
of him
some
doing
reason.
it.
And she said,
Yep.
I don't know if this was meant to be a joke where she says, so you weren't lying about that, which means you mustn't been lying about everything else. Like
Yeah.
either that's a bad gag or just
Yeah,
bad.
it doesn't fit.
Whatever
and
it is bad.
To bring it back to Elliot's point of it being in Thanksgiving, surely saying, oh, we can still have Thanksgiving dinner because it's not gone, it's just buried. Now let's go back to... I don't fucking know. Good Lord. I'm not getting paid to fix this.
The whole wackiness as well of the town taking the Simpsons home and moving it atop a mountain. Again, this is going back to Trash of the Titans where they moved Springfield down the road or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's also not forget that the way they managed to move the town is Grandpa's just so busy playing the violin that no one can hear the house being picked up and moved. That's a thing. And they're all sleeping in the same bed.
Another element of this episode, which was just, it's so fucking ADD. They just keep changing what they want to do because then it's like this moment of when the town's going through this, town-wide blackout, that they're all kind of regressing to, 1800s times and everything. Mose is now looks like an old speakeasy. And I'm like, oh, okay, what you doing with this? And not much.
Yeah, totally. I was so confused. I was like, why does Mo have a mustache? I'm like, if you make that the thing, if you're making it that everyone regresses, or goes back to olden days, stick with that. You can't just have one or two scenes where that's happening because otherwise it's just super confusing.
Again, it's Springfield. We know they go into a frenzy at the drop of a hat. So the idea they've all gone back to old-timey ways and are maybe going to burn Homer at the stake at the end, I can believe it, sure.
But the old-timey habit of moving an entire house up to atop a mountain, But then, and I was like, okay, what are you going to do with this? And it was, just a couple of quick jokes about how Bart figures out he can tilt the house and have people, roll in and out of scenes. And
you had Flanders next door, which at the start I was like, I don't mind this idea that Flanders is such a nice guy. He requested they move him next door. But then Homer's like, oh, so you believe me? And then Flanders says, yeah, but I also believe in blah, blah, blah. It's like, why would you say that? That doesn't make sense.
No, it's once again, the writer's pointing out the obvious here. It's you can take that implication, with Flanders going, oh, yes, just mentioning his beliefs, not specifically going, I believe this crazy Christian crap. Can you believe me?
He could word it in I'm not going to rewrite the joke for them, but he could have said it just like I believe, blah, blah, blah. And it's something really ridiculous, but Flanders doesn't realize it sounds ridiculous. But instead, he's just literally saying, and I believe in something crazy. It's but you wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't
phrase your own thing like that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And, it's just so silly. And just the framing device as well, which is not really a framing, it just bookends the episode with the future jump of a dead hologram Homer and
Bart. Then Bart dies.
Bart dies of boredom. I feel that.
Oh my God. But even that they've done before. In one of those future episodes, they've done it where Homer's like a hologram.
Yeah.
Even that, it's you've done this. You've done it all.
Not only have they done that, they've done the misdirect in the, Lisa dating Hugh episode. It's if only your father was still here. But he left for work a few minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's right.
Yeah. How about the heart? Was this a heartfelt episode?
Look, there's some anti-heart. I've got a note of that where Lisa has a line early on. God, this is awful in retrospect as well. Where she goes, but today I learned there are two completely worthless things in life. Scented toilet paper and a promise from Homer Simpson. And I'm like, and now in retrospect, I'm like, what promise? What are you fucking talking about? Homer, first of all, didn't lie and didn't break a promise to Lisa. So
it's because he says about he's going to put the things up on the house.
Yeah,
the windows, which he did.
Yeah.
Well, okay, there is one part of the heart which I'll give it in the... So the blackout's being caused, and later on at the Simpsons house, Homer is installing the storm windows. Winter is coming. Sorry, reference to a season 13 episode. Anyway, he's putting them up, and Marge is immediately suspicious. Why are you doing this now? And it's she immediately reads the situation is that he's guilty. Something's gone wrong. He wouldn't be doing this. There's something there. But
so why is he doing it then?
Feels guilty even though he didn't do anything, and he said he would. So I guess he's being nice now, which is, I guess, the implication. Again,
that's it. He's scraping together to put the Band-Aid on.
Yeah, there's something interesting to the plot line of Marge being suspicious because he's being nice, and then he's like, "No, you told me to do it, and I finally remembered." or something like that. Like, there's something to that, but good Lord, it's not here.
Yeah. No, I think they were trying maybe, with the whole Marge and Homer thing, but yeah, I don't think it.
Look,
really-
I did have a quick little heart moment for when Grandpa shows up with firewood. And I think if this episode was more of a, they all kind of revert to old-timey ways and maybe they find a little bit of family and Thanksgiving in amongst that, there's something there. But they don't stick with it long enough. Grandpa's pretty much gone as soon as he's done violining.
No, that's it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it actually did lead to a meta line, which did pop a little faller, I will admit. It was like,
Yeah,
oh,
me
yeah,
too.
I can teach you the ways of when I grew up in the 30s or the 50s or whatever makes sense now.
Yes,
That's the kind of drive-by line they can get away with.
Yeah. And I think is that, you guys know better than I would, is that one of the first actual references to the fact that Grandpa now can't have been in World War II, really?
Yeah. Well,
Kind of,
did they have one recently where they kind of shifted it and said he might have fought in Vietnam instead of World War II
I
or
feel like you
whatever?
can't do that, though. Like, no matter how old he gets, you could make it an unreliable narrator thing, but I feel like it would be too strict. Because then what did Skinner fight in? I don't know.
Yeah. I think Skinner's actually one they've kind of more screwed themselves because,
Oh, yeah. They've unwritten Armin Tanzarian so many times by now.
Yeah.
Because Grandpa, like you said, is he's known for telling tall tales anyway. So
Yeah.
it would actually probably be funny if it turns out, Grandpa, you keep talking about World War II, but that's not actually possible. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you fought in Vietnam. But Skinner, it's like, I don't know if they do make references to his war days anymore, do they?
Yeah.
No,
not that I
so
can
this is
remember
one
for
where
a
I'm
while.
like, I can't remember if we talked about the implications or if they actually
yeah.
did, but
Sorry. As long as we're in these weeds, there's a bit where they say, "Oh, we're looking forward to this Thanksgiving. It's our first one with Maggie." And I was like,
yeah.
"How old is Maggie?"
Yeah, that really threw me. And I mean, look, we've talked about this on Murph's Tavern a bit. The fact that it is really funny that Maggie is a baby. Like,
Yeah.
I think that there's an episode where she turns one, where in the
Yeah.
one where Grandpa and Marge's mum get together.
Don't
Yeah, so
forget to
it's-
give
I
her
think that-
Schmickler's powder.
Yeah. They generally refer to as being one, right? And I
Yeah.
really like the idea that means a year ago Marge gave birth. Like, and Homer and Marge have a 1-year-old. Like, I know so many people with 1-year-olds, and that is their life. Like,
Yeah.
So I love the idea that Homer and Marge is constantly getting a new job and doing all this, and it's like, you've got a 1-year-old. Anyway, I digress. Even if that kind of is sort of true, I'm like, okay, well, I guess. She is. They do roughly say she's one. I guess this could be her first Thanksgiving. It's super jarring to hear that, but
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's my problem with it is they didn't have to say that. So to say it makes me think about it.
Yeah.
100%, because it's set up to that. The setup is Maggie's first Thanksgiving, and then Marge says, "It means I can drink now."
Yeah.
And then that never becomes anything. So I'm like, what was even the point?
Yeah, even if she was
all
like,
that?
Thanksgiving's ruined and my chilled Pinot is now room temperature.
I'm assuming they cut something because it seems very bizarre to bring that up.
Yeah, I agree. This feels like something was removed or changed quite late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But ultimately, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these the characters we know and love? Is this the show we know and love?
I'm confused and angry. So no.
Yeah, gonna go with the big hard no on that one, Elliot.
Yeah, it's somewhere between like zombie Simpsons and Family Guy Simpsons and then just factory modern Simpsons. Like, it's not classic Simpsons.
Yeah, it feels very factory to me. It feels like these pieces fit well enough to count.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know, how much do you guys know about the production of the newest season now? Because what I've gathered, what I've picked up is that Al Jean is like shares show running duties with Matt Selman now. Is that right?
Yeah, it's those two and two other guys. Names are escaping me at the moment. But basically there's like 4 showrunners at the moment.
Okay. Well, from what I can gather, this one was an Al Jean one. And there's another new episode I watched recently, which was awful. I don't know if you've done it on your pod yet. It's a Pin Pals one.
No.
They seem obsessed with bringing back the Pin Pals.
Yeah.
They've done like 20 new Pin Pals episodes, but this is one where there's a plane crash because they're on the way to a bowling tournament.
Of course.
Yeah, it was trash, but that was an Al Jean one as well. So I'm thinking, and from what I've read online as well, his episodes are the ones that tend to be stinkier.
Yeah, well, I mean, we even had one that was written by him recently, which was
that
also fucking awful.
We were kind of genuinely convinced it was written by AI.
Yeah.
Because it was just nonsense.
Yeah, which is sad because he's like, I mean, he show ran with Mark Reese seasons 3 and 4, and they're like some of the best seasons.
Yeah, I think he's also the guy who says, "Oh, we put the same amount of effort into these season episodes as we did back in the day," and it's like there is no fucking way because we talk a lot, and we don't know how the show is done, but it feels like scripts don't get kicked around a writer's room anymore. It feels like one person writes them and that's it.
I actually meant to mention that on last week's episode because there was a podcast called Good One which reviewed Lisa the Boy Scout and had a bunch of the creators on, and Matt Selman included in that. And he even said that they've cut down their pitching process because he said back the way it used to work is that people would kind of have to audition their episodes to the writer's room and come up with a treatment that would then either get shot down or moved ahead. And apparently he was like, yeah, well, basically like 3 in every 4 wouldn't end up going to air. So we've just sort of streamlined that a bit and just had a bit more trust in our writers to make an episode work. And it's just like, no, it doesn't.
You mean
go back
you
to the
used
old ways, dude. Be brutal.
Yeah, you mean you used to filter out the crap? Wow.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that would have been an effective method?
Yeah. Matt Selman's seems a bit wild as well. Have you talked about the fact that he said in like an interview that he just doesn't, the show was not designed to end, and he's just wants it to keep going forever and ever and ever. And he's like, nah, we don't even talk about how it could end because it's not going to happen. It's like, buddy, you can't have that mentality. And he also had some controversial comment where he's like, every episode like resets, so like continuity is not a thing, which is his excuse for like rewriting all the backstories and just retconning everything.
Which would be a fine enough statement if episodes didn't call back to previous episodes as much as they do.
100%. I absolutely agree. You can't have your cake and eat it too, because they seem obsessed now on the show of like sprinkling in these little, get it?
Hey, remember this?
Yeah. Like even in Moe's now, how you have the pictures of like the B sharps and stuff from older episodes.
Yeah, you can't have a Pin Pals 2 if we're not supposed to remember the Pin Pals happened.
Exactly.
Well, I actually ended up getting in a tiny little, wasn't Twitter. Actually, this was on Blue Sky as well. Where, because that latest Pin Pals episode you're talking about, Murph, they just they gave new Pin Pals. It wasn't the original 4. And that was after Beach a few years ago. Yeah, we reviewed another one, which was just Homer and then 3 different people that weren't the original Pin Pals. So, they've done that twice. And, like, I pointed that out on another thread, and he like responded by saying something equivalent of like, the Pin Pals are like the Avengers, they're not quite the same in each episode. And it's like, cunt, like, don't compare yourself to that. Like, that's a movie franchise that's built on making a big interconnected stories between multiple movies. Like, again, don't play it both ways. Like,
and I don't want to spoil when you eventually get to that Pin Pals Plane Crash episode, but they do not explain at all why Flanders is suddenly in the Pin Pals, who else is in it. It's just, completely different.
It's so weird. When you said that, it's like I can hear a knife getting sharpened in the background.
Because I was watching and I was like, okay, so Flanders is in the Pen Pals. Cool. This will be interesting to know how he ended up. And then 2/3 in the episode, I'm like, I don't think they're going to explain.
No. No. It's so fucking stupid. But anyway, yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Nah.
Nah, man. No way.
Good Lord, no. BT, what would you like to change?
We've covered it. Like, pick a thing and stick with that thing. Like, if you want The Simpsons run out of time, get there faster and have it. If you want to have more of a mystery, do that. Because it's like, well, if Dad didn't do it, who did? But even then, how do you prove? And then what is it? Whatever. But I think there's something interesting just having the town reset and have to be a bit more primitive, and maybe going from this sucks to actually we're getting to learn how to do things, or, there's something there. And then the power comes. Especially because it starts off so fucking heavy-handed on its old kids on these screens these days. Like, yeah. Cool. Real topical statement there.
Yeah.
How about you, Murph? What would you like to change?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that idea. I thought of before about Burns. It does something. Oh, sorry. Something really horrible happens, and I don't know who was responsible, but you figure that out later. But yeah, the premise could be the town is like, that's it. We're done with Burns. Fuck this guy. And he actually didn't do anything. But also, yeah, like you said, BT leaning into making the plot they have to deal with there being no technology, especially, I mean, they've sort of, I think, done that back in the classic years, but I mean, now, 2025, we're even more reliant on it. So, yeah, having a plot where there is no internet or power, seeing how that affects the town, that could work. Going in, you've got a million characters, have fun, play with them,
Got a whole toy box there to play with.
Yeah.
Well, especially setting it at Thanksgiving where, just from the name of that holiday alone, you can use it as the chance to have the town have to come together and support each other and like then expressing gratitude at that time, everyone pulling together to make Thanksgiving happen because we don't have the luxuries that we're used to and like it has to be actually a town-wide affair. And so then having the Simpsons ostracized from that for their part in the blackout, like, again, interesting shit.
Good Lord. So I just remembered another dropped point. They make this whole song and dance about how there's a massive kill storm coming that never comes. We know it's so. And if you want to make it about banding, a community banding together in hard times, there's your oncoming threat where you can't stay mad at each other and survive. You're gonna have to work together. But that just got completely abandoned. Like that's the only reason they're mentioning the storm windows, which also don't really matter.
No.
Yeah, you're right. And again, mishmash of plots. Hurricane Eddie. That's, well, there was a bit where I was like, what the fuck? I mean, there were many bits where I was like, what the fuck? But, Marge waking up home and him doing a little Hawaii thing in his sleep. I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it. I was like, Homer's dreaming of Hawaii while he's asleep. But then he's like, I'm off to work. It's Hawaii Day. I'm like, oh, okay. So that wasn't a non-sec, like,
I had the same thing where it's like, it feels like there were two separate Hawaii jokes. And but why not be like, he's dreaming about it because he's so excited?
Yeah.
But they don't have that.
Well, I think he's excited because he's the king something or whatever. But then it's just all the other workers' excuse to like make him do a bunch of work for the party. But then, that doesn't even serve the greater plot of then them turning on him and like not showing their appreciation to all the work he did. There wasn't any common thread. It was just, that was that thing for this scene, and now we're moving on to something else.
Yeah, and also, like, the whole premise of the episode, right, is that Homer's done so many bad things that they assume it's him, and also that's why Marge finds it hard to come to terms with whether she should trust him. But if old Matt Selman is all about there's no continuity, then if this is your first time watching an episode of The Simpsons, why should, like, you'd be like, well, what bad things has he done? Obviously, we know having watched a million episodes, but if his whole thing is like, oh no, it's like a hard reset, blah, blah, blah. It's like, give us at least a couple, like, this is your opportunity to even come up with some new bad things he's done. Like,
that's it.
As throwaway lines or something.
Or just newspaper clippings or something. Yeah, that'd be fun.
But it's asking you to both rely on the history and not care about it at the same time. And it's just at this stage, we've accepted the, the wobbly, timey-wimey, and, sometimes their flashbacks are in the 80s, sometimes they're in the 2010s.
Sometimes Homer invented grunge,
Yeah, that's it. Homer started out the show as a boomer, and now I think he's a millennial. Like,
yeah.
Well, we can accept that stuff, but this isn't the right kind of flavor. No.
The more it keeps getting renewed, he'll end up being Gen Alpha.
Yeah. Yay, season 50 coming.
Remember that dance we went to, Marge, where we flossed all night? That was totally dab.
I'm just remembering something else that pissed me off. Is there's a bit where like Lisa says, tofu turkeys are great or something, and then Bart says, said no one ever. I'm like, that's That's
Yeah.
something that people say online. That's not an original creative.
But even
line.
just saying said no one ever, it's like,
Yeah, even that's like from what 10 years ago that was popular online. Yeah, it's like
I
oh my
hated that
God.
bit as well because that was going to be my one Jordan's anal corner. If you have the bell ready, BT.
One Jordan's anal corner.
We got a bell.
That's great.
Yeah, in that scene, when it's looking at Lisa, you don't hear the snow coming in from the open windows that we were talking about before. But when it's cutting to Bart's perspective, it's like,
Yeah,
but then it cuts to Lisa and it's completely silent. It's like, there's basic sound design, guys, that you'd still hear the wind. Like, come on.
Sorry, so I was about harping on tiny lines. I also want to throw to Elise a bit where she's like, Bart, do you know how many angry mobs the average family has to deal with? And you're like, fuck, I already have the punchline. Just don't even bother. 0. I'm like, yes, I know it's 0.
Well, it sounds like we're in our final notes. Let's make it official. It's time for final notes.
Now it's time for our final notes. Everyone's final notes, speedy edition.
Do you have any final notes about this episode? One last complaints before we move on to the rankings. Murphy.
Yeah, the bit where Bart comes out, I think I alluded to this before, where he's like, I got 1%. I'll call tech support.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Who's who? What? Why is he calling tech support?
How do you have 1 bar if there's no power whatsoever?
Yeah. And I don't understand who he's actually calling. But then it cuts to a very, very dark bit where 2 people in tech support, whatever that is, are just hanging and they've killed themselves.
Yep.
And it's like, but why? Who are they? I don't understand. What are you doing?
Well, you have to remember, this is all Lisa's story, so she's like,
Yeah.
And then Bart called tech support with 1 bar, but they'd all killed themselves.
Because they're hanging from a nurse, and we think that's funny because we're Matt Selman apparently. Yeah. And yeah, like when the power first goes out, and like Willie like old yellers, he's like floor buffer.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. Someone check in on the Simpsons stuff. Where they might not be well.
Mayor Quimby makes a reference to them all killing Millhouse as well.
Oh yeah.
We're going to start a games, either Hunger or Squid.
Yeah.
Again, if that had been interrupted by Lisa saying, hey, I've been reading this book and we don't have to murder each other to survive, we can band together, gosh darn it.
Yeah.
I'm Lisa Simpson. I've always talked like this.
And I mean, fine, do a Squid Games parody then, guys. Do a Hunger Games parody. I think they've done a Hunger Games parody on a Treehouse of Horror one. Maybe,
Yeah,
but,
they did.
Yeah.
but it's like, nope, you haven't stuck to that either. You've gone old-timey. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Or have you? What's going on? None of this makes sense.
And was that all your notes?
Yeah.
BT.
All right. Look, there's a bit where they're in the future and they're 3D printing all the food, but then the 3D printer runs out of cranberry toner. I do love hating printers for their bullshit, so I'm okay with this one.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yep. Okay, the kind of at this point we don't know it's not going to be Homer's fault, so I do like he's got all the garbage and there's the waste disposal chute, and then next to it the reactor core chute, and he's like, well, obviously I'm putting it in the waste disposal. This is going to be like, okay, I like the idea. It wasn't actually Homer's fault for a change. That was nice.
Yeah. But again, just with story things, it's like there wasn't like exonerating evidence at any point. They just like, all right, we're going to take your word on it now.
We're blaming Burns now. No, how did you figure out it was me? We said it was you.
Yeah. It just going back, sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
Did just think that everyone in the town hates Homer and is like, Homer did it. Fuck you. We're throwing bricks through your window. But because they spoke to Lenny and Carl, or what? Like, why is everyone in the town assuming that it's Homer's fault?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
like again,
who knows?
Same that there was no exonerating evidence. Like there was no also any evidence for them to like get on the we hate Homer bandwagon.
Yeah.
Like, I know like Springfield can fall into mob mentality at the drop of a hat, but there's at least the drop of a hat,
Yeah, true. No hats were even dropped. Look, the one joke I genuinely liked is during the core meltdown, the announcer's like, please put your name tag in your mouth to help identify your skull. Like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah, not bad.
Okay, one bit. So Homer's like, telling Marge, like, you really have to believe me. You've said that so many times. Look into my eyes and tell me, and you'll know you believe me. You've said that. He takes her hand, is like, look into my eyes and feel my heart, and maybe later you can examine my prostate. It was like, the fuck?
Yeah. I didn't know what the hell they were going for with that.
Yeah, like it was a bit I could have gotten behind of, he's always done the look into my eyes and take my hand and feel my heart, but it didn't land, and then adding that as a uncomfortable tackle.
Yeah.
Look, at one point, Grandpa says, "You mean you're an innocent idiot, not a guilty nitwit?" Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
There's a stupid line about, well, we just blame you for all these things. Like that time I could have been an orthodontist, but I'm not anymore. I'm Lenny.
Yeah.
I said it terribly, but fuck, I'm not doing it justice.
No, the episode I don't think said it that much better.
And I think that is all my notes. There is... Look, if I was having a better time, I might have been all right with the line of then Homer's reading Lisa the book. It's like, they walked all day to bring her that orange, but she'd already died, so they zested the rind over her grave. Like okay, if I wasn't angry, this would have been funnier.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, just another unnecessary Simpsons fourth act fucking credits, whatever.
I did think of one more, sorry, Elliot. When Cletus is driving away the car, Cletus says, like, now I'll be the village idiot.
Yeah.
It's like, and then that's it. I'm like, but you kind of, again, things that have already been done in the Simpsons movie, like the whole premise is that he's the dumbest guy in town or whatever. So it's like, that's kind of already been done. Like, do something funny with, like, maybe, like, Cletus is like, shotgun town idiot. And Barney's like, or something like that. Like,
yeah.
But he's just saying, I'm going to be the town idiot. It's like, okay.
No,
right.
It's just, again, over a lot, like, on these sort of catchphrasey characters, like, Cletus, and like Gil as well when he's following comic book guy around. He's going, oh, I like this, and I'm going to follow you. And, goddamn.
Yeah.
So the episode actually does start out with a fucking couch gag. We actually rarely get this in the 30s. And
yeah, classic turkey hand.
so this was actually created by Katrin von Niederhausen and Janine Widget. You might not know those names, but...
Traditional American names.
They actually got The Simpsons' attention because... I don't know if you've seen this episode, Murph and BT, you might have already forgotten this episode, but
Certainly.
where the Simpsons go to New Orleans in Lisa Gets the Blues, season 29, Homer does this big thing of, like, all the foods he can get in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And it's like this 2.5 minute bit of him, like, being at different locations listing, New Orleans food. And so, yeah, Katrin and Janine did, like, a real-life recreation of that. Because there's a lot of, like, actual references to places and stuff. Like, so, yeah, they went to New Orleans and shot a recreation of that. And then they were hired to do this turkey hand animation intro.
You know how I know about that is binging with Babish.
Yeah.
He was going to do that too, but they beat him to the punch. I think he'd already, like, flown to New Orleans and then they uploaded the video or something. I might be
I think it was like either the day he flew down or like the second day of filming that they found out that someone else had done this idea, and he's like, screw it, just doing it anyway.
Yeah, do it anyway.
But yeah, I mean, fine enough couch gag. I don't think they've done like a craft paper version of that, so fun.
Yep. Went on a little bit, but it was fine.
Is the only reason they do couch gags now if it's like a guest animator?
I mean, pretty much, but also, like, mostly in the 30s, they don't do them anymore. They, like, rarely do the intro. Usually it's
just goes straight to
The
it.
Simpsons
Because
episode.
they're just so jam-packed full of quality, they couldn't cut a thing.
Yeah. But we'll be talking more about that on Murph's Tavern.
Yes, bit of sizzle. Upcoming episode of Murph's Tavern where we discuss the opening sequence. But
Go check that out there, but we'll finish this one off here for now. Mr. Burns has a line that, not since Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk has there been a more self-serving billionaire than me. And it's just like, guys, you made the Musk who fell to earth. Like,
you
helped.
Maybe they're trying to, like, repent. I don't know.
Yeah.
Man, like, because we recorded our review of that, like, a little bit before it was generally agreed that he was a fuckhead. And I went back and listened to that, like, because I was like, oh my God, I hope we didn't have anything nice to say about him. Fortunately, we were fairly neutral on him the whole time, but, like, we had the good foresight to unanimously fail that episode.
It's a bad episode.
And I think that's all. That's pretty much all my notes. All right, it is time to. Oh wait, no, so sorry. I found one more bit of wackiness.
Yep.
So the Simpsons are getting bricks thrown in their house, and all the text on the bricks. One of them said, "Reorder more bricks." I'm like, okay, that's not bad in there. long history of doing bricks being thrown through windows jokes.
If you wanted a playlist, there's a bricks playlist. I don't know if it's going to get any better than the the Art of War, I think.
Yeah, where they have the for and against bricks.
He's for and against bricks, yeah.
Yeah.
That was good, and that's still probably their best brick through the window gag.
What about Ralph going through the window and
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
I'm a brick?
Yeah. All right, it is time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using a 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just, you give it a participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. Yeah, look, honestly, if it was like ranking right after I came from the episode, I might have said participant, but like the analysis of this one, just like, this is actually such a hardcore failure. Like, I don't think there's a lot of objectionable material in it, but it's just dropping from ideas to ideas. It's poorly written from every conceivable angle, and it's just not an enjoyable experience that I do not want to experience again. BT.
Yeah, look, at midway through watching this, I'm like, yeah, fine, this is a participant. And then I'm not sure when, but I just turned, I'm like, no, this is starting to piss me off more and more. And then that's just third act of, I think it was Mr. Burns, where it is a mansion now. This is all resolved. And just, that had me done. I walked into this room on a failure and not ready to be talked up if if I just came off too hot-headed, because, damn, you know me and my hothead. But, yeah, I'm sticking with a failure.
And Murphy, please finish it off.
Yeah, this one is a one big fat failure.
Hey.
I think this might be the first time. This is certainly not the first time I've failed an episode with you guys, but this might be the first time all three of us have failed.
You mean this is the first time we have given this episode?
The index finger! Unanimous failure!
Into the pit with ye.
Oh, and it's only the second episode from season 35 to get a unanimous failure from us. That'll be joining Bart's brain.
Oh, my favorite episode.
The best episode.
They can duke it out in hell.
Like, look, that is one thing you can say about the 30s is that, like, if you look at our, like, rankings compared to the 20s, there is actually a lot less failures, even, like, shades of failures across the board. But, yeah, but there's still a lot of participants and, like, mostly bronzes.
You have a graph? I know you've got all the data, but can you, like, see easily, like, where it dips and goes up and stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely. It's actually something I've been meaning to put on the website, but no one ever checks it or holds me to the fire when I don't update it, which I don't often do. But yes.
Because, I'd be keen to see just how much you guys have, the 30s compared to the 20s, compared to the teens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I mean, it does go up in the 30s. It's just not by much.
Yeah.
All right, just sending that to our chat. So there you go. There's our the line graph I've got of the ongoing seasons.
That's really cool. Okay, so it's still currently the highest that a 30s has is about equal with the mid-teens.
Yeah. So basically when it drops about season 15, where that's like the turning point where we noticed, okay, yeah, there is like an even amount of bad and good here. That's where the 30s are at. That's the kind of level they're hitting these days.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Wow, quite the drop, but like season 13, I remember this when it was happening. I remember on the message boards and stuff when I was a teenager. Season 13 was meant to be like Algene is the savior and he's coming in to save the Simpsons because Mike Scully, was known as like the guy that fucked up the Simpsons, right? 9, 10, 11, 12, like especially like 11, 12, they're saying just massively, and you can see it in your stats,
the drop off from 8 to 9 was like one thing that was pretty unexpected for me. Like,
true actually. Oh yeah, so your 9, 10, 11, 12 are actually not that far. I would have expected 9 to be a lot higher, but yeah, okay. So, but then you've got a massive drop 12 to 13.
Oh,
See, I remember Algene's first couple years, so season 13, 14, actually being all right, or at least an improvement from what Scully was doing. But your stats indicate that it was that is not the case.
No, because most of like 13 and 14 were like, it was a very bronzy season, but like 15 is like where we start getting a lot of failures in, and then
yeah. No, there you go. No, you should chuck that up on your socials.
It is fascinating data.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but don't expect season 35 to be staying up that high. It might get tipped down a bit more. Thanks to you.
Wait till you get to, wait till you get to that Pin Pals playing one. Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Looking forward to it with sharpened knives.
Yeah. Well, Murph, thank you so much for joining us for the Simpsons Index today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
And yeah, if people want to hear more about you, where you're actually like saying nice things about this wonderful cartoon, where can they do that?
Where I'm not getting my rant on and instead getting my rave on. Yeah, sure. Check out Murph's Tavern. It's on all the wherever you get your podcasts. Murph's Tavern. What have we done recently? We talked about Clip Show, the Simpsons first clip show where Homer goes in the coma. Talked about the Larry Burns episode recently. Speaking of like rankings, we actually, because Murph's Tavern hit 100 episodes not too long ago.
Yeah, I was just about to say the episode you did for the 100 where you did You Only Move Twice. That was really good. Oh,
thanks, man. Yeah. We got a bunch of regular guests together for that one, and watched it on a big screen at a bar in Melbourne that has like a cinema room, and that was good. But we also did for episode 101. We went through all the rankings and ratings that we'd done for all the episodes, and some surprises in there. The lowest rated episode we've done is amazingly a season 3 episode, Lisa the Greek.
Oh, wow. We gave that unanimous cubic.
Yeah. It was, and look, the thing, and I'm sure this is the case with your pod as well, it depends what guests you have on. Like recently we did Lisa's Pony, which is, considered absolute classic. I'm sure you guys gave that cubics.
I think it's in my personal like top 5, 10 or something like that.
Yeah, well, we got an average, I gave it an 8. But the guests were not huge fans, and it got an average rating of 6.16 out of 10. Ooh. So, yeah, which is pretty wild. But then, of course, you've got
people think we're savage.
Yeah. But then, you've got an episode like The Canine Mutiny with Laddie, which is not that amazing, and that's our second lowest rated one. So
yeah, wow. It has been pointed out to me, and I don't disagree with this, that maybe our classic era ratings are a little inflated, being that for most of that time we were watching, a HD and a teens episode before that. So this was just going back to anything from that day. It was, absolutely the oasis in the middle of the desert. But also at the same time, as we pointed out before, like season 9, we've had quite a dip in our overall ratings. So it's like, and we were treating that as classic era. So then.
Yeah, and also, how do you ever watch anything in a vacuum? Like, if you're having a bad day or something, it could be affect your episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's it. Take these ratings with a grain of salt, I guess.
Yeah, we've always said we feel like we circle the correct answer. If not, we orbit it at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all go check out Murph's Tavern on everything. I'll put links in the show notes as always, like to our other things like, I don't know, BT. What else are we doing?
Well, if you're sitting there going, like, I love the idea of Yardley Smith doing a southern accent, where can I maybe watch some movies that she does that in? You, my friend, can hop on over to Starring Springfield, where you can check out reviews like, say, Maximum Overdrive, where you get there, this Yardley Smith has a southern accent. But if you're like, no, I need more than that, you can get onto patreon.com/SideQuest Studios, where you can get over 50 episodes of Starring Springfield, including the unreleased so far to the free pod, The Legend of Billie Jean, where once again, Yardley Smith does a southern accent. Why does this keep happening? Fucked if I know.
Yeah, and if you sign up to the Patreon, you also get to be the one to suggest what movies we review on Starring Springfield. And like Maximum Overdrive you mentioned before, that's actually a movie that's available on YouTube. No one's like chasing the copyright for that, so
just
get on
cool
that.
About it, everybody.
And then also recently released onto the free feed was Superhero Movie, which is I quite liked that one.
You did. It was better than I thought it was going to be. So
who is in that from Simpsons?
Dan Castellaneta. He's very briefly in it, but he gets killed by Shooter McGavin, whoever. Christopher McDonald, I think he's that actor. Anyway, he's like the villain of that movie.
Okay, Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, superhero movies when they were doing a lot of those types of films,
yeah,
right?
Post-scary movie, and they had like, let's do all this other superhero style and rom-com style. And
Yeah, it's not as
teen
bad
stuff.
as like a Meet the Spartans or like a sports movie, I think was one of them. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think what was happening, and we're going on a real tangent here, but I think when all those movies coming out, people assumed it was the same people with all them. But actually, I think it was like different
it's a
people. Like,
rotating team.
I think some of the Naked Gun writers actually were behind superhero movie.
yeah, I
So,
think
like
one of the
Airplane and
Zuckers,
Naked-
but not
Yeah.
both of them.
yeah.
That sounds
well, they got
right.
Leslie Nielsen in for it. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, I don't know if we recorded this on or off pod, but we are talking about Mystery Men before, and yeah, superhero movie predates the MCU by like a month. So much like Mystery Man.
Wow.
There was still the Spider-Mans and the X-Men's, but
Yeah.
definitely not the glut.
But yeah, it's interesting with both Mystery Men and superhero movie, both of which we reviewed. Like these superhero parody movies before like recent like overexposure of the genre. And anyway, you can check that out on Starring Springfield, and yeah, check out Murph's Tavern. Me and BT have been on a bunch, and yeah, two of my favorite podcasts that legitimately we've ever done were reviewing the 2 Simpsons albums with you over there. Yeah, I've listened back to those a couple of times. I really love those podcasts we made with you over there.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, those were a lot of fun. And I think at the time when we reviewed the Yellow Album, we were the only, I think that was the first episode of any podcast that had delved deep into that one. And I think like a few months later, that big American Simpsons podcast, they have had like a bunch of like Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein and stuff are on it every now and then.
Oh,
Talking
wow.
Simpsons, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, they did an episode all about it. And I think I sent you a gif of like George Harrison being like, it's been done.
That's right. Well, yeah, fuck those guys. Listen to our podcasts. They don't need the help.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, that's about it for the Simpsons Index. One more time. Thank you so much, Murph.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
And thank you, BT.
I'm still here.
You sure are. As am I. But not for now, because I'm leaving. Anyway, that's all the mustard in the house.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. We're also on social media. You can follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and on Threads. Links for all that and more are down in the show notes. And lastly, consider giving us a 5-star review. Why not? We'd do it for you. Now, there's no bonus scenes for this episode. Everything we left in was pure gold, so we'll catch you next time.